Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Poe, and today I'm doing a review of Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown Sisters contemporary romance trilogy, which I absolutely love. I have standalone reviews of the first two books in the series, Get a Life Chloe Brown and Take a Hint Dani Brown. I will link both of those reviews below, and this third book is just as excellent as the first two. This is a romance series, so that means that these are more companion novels. You can read them in any order, although I think reading them in publication order is probably the best. So first, before I tell you about all of the reasons why I love this book so much, let me give you a brief summary of what the book is about. Also, content warnings are going to be listed in the description box below for anybody who wants to see those. So this book is about Eve Brown, who is in her mid-20s, is Black, British, and comes from a very rich family. She is also such a sunny personality, so much creativity, a little bit flighty though. She keeps trying various different careers and nothing quite sticks, until one day her parents tell her she needs to act her age and actually get a job that she can keep and support herself. So on a whim, she decides to apply for a chef position at a B&B in a very cute little town. Only the owner is very much a by the books, follow the rule, doesn't want any of the kind of sunny creativity that Eve has to offer, except she ends up working there and they have to figure out how to get along. So now let me tell you about all the reasons why I love this book so much, starting with the humor. Talia Hibbert is absolutely hilarious, and this book just made me laugh so much. I had a constant smile while I was reading this book, and it was so funny. In addition to just incredibly funny, witty banter, there are so many scenes that are just ridiculous and hilarious, and if you want a pick-me-up, this is definitely the book for that. It was hilarious and just wonderful. In addition to how funny this book is, it is also just the sweetest, coziest read. I loved the entire feel of this book. It takes place in such an idyllic, beautiful little British town. It is in a glorious Victorian style B&B. The main character, Eve, is a chef in this, and so she's making French toast and full English breakfasts. There's a beautiful garden outside of the B&B. There's ducks. I mean, really, everything about this shouts coziness, and I think that that was very intentional. At the beginning of the book, Talia Hibbert actually acknowledges that she wrote this during quarantine times, but chose not to include that as part of what was going on in the book. And I think she very much intended to write something cozy for everybody when we need just that little bit of pick-me-up right now. The next aspect of the story that I thought was wonderful and that Talia Hibbert is amazing at is the sex scenes. If you are looking for wonderful, steamy sex that is full of consent and love and celebration of bodies, Talia Hibbert is the person to go to, and I thought that the steamy scenes in this were excellent. Really just full of so much desire and connection, and it was fantastic. Another thing I love about this story is the autism rep. Talia Hibbert herself is autistic, and I love the way that she includes autistic characters in a lot of her different romances. In this story, Jacob, the owner of the B&B, is autistic, and it's really interesting just seeing the way that he handles dealing with some of his anxieties and handles dealing with interactions with people that maybe are not comfortable for him. I am not autistic, and I can't speak to that as an own voices reviewer, but I thought that it was just really excellent, and I empathized so heavily with Jacob. I really understood his need for control and for security and for rules and for things to follow, and it just was such a connection for me as a reader, and I love the way that Talia Hibbert did this. I also really loved the way that this book focused on Eve and her journey into adulthood. So much of this story is about Eve being unsure of herself and unsure of what she's doing and what she wants. And I think that a lot of the story really revolves around her finding her place and finding that way to express herself and be appreciated for who she is. I think that that is just a lovely part of the story, and I got so much out of it. And lastly, one of my favorite parts of the story is the way that Eve and Jacob see each other and get each other. Both of them are people who aren't necessarily fully understood by those around them. Often their actions seem strange or unexplainable, or there's just something where people can't connect to them. But they connect to each other so strongly. They deeply understand each other, they get each other, they don't see each other as strange or weird. It just makes sense. And I loved that. I think that that is such a beautiful thing in a relationship, and I really empathized with it and was so for that aspect. Just as an example, Eve often uses the wrong word when she's talking about things, and many of the other people in her life are constantly correcting her and saying, didn't you mean this word? But Jacob never does that. He always understands what her intent is and doesn't get hung up on the fact that she's using the incorrect word. And he always just goes with it and moves on and makes her feel heard. I loved this aspect of the book, and I thought it was such a strength. Overall, I think that Actor Eve H. Brown is just such a joyful, uplifting, funny book that is full of romance and love, both partner love as well as self-love and acceptance. This book made me so happy to read, and I thought it was an excellent conclusion to the Brown Sisters trilogy. This entire series is fantastic. I definitely hope that if you haven't already picked it up, you will pick it up. And if you've read the other two books, definitely pick up Eve Brown. I think it is so worth your while. If you guys have read this book or any of the other books in this series, or if you're interested in trying this, go ahead and let me know your thoughts, comments, recommendations, anything at all. Just leave me a comment down below.